What is happening, Brian?
Hey, how are you, Dave?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well.
Yeah?
Yeah, here in Pittsburgh, weather's been starting to get better, starting to feel like summer, so that's been
Right.
nice. It's been positive.
It is positive. Well, that's the same way up here. It's kind of, last week it dropped down to like 40 again, and then now it's been on the 70s and 80s. So hopefully it's here to stay, for sure. For sure. So let's talk a little bit about Brian Gaudio and Module, man. So what have you been up to over the last, really 2 months that we've been dealing with this whole COVID thing? Let's give everybody an idea, because I know you've been busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a new normal. All of our team, at least our corporate team, we're all working remote, so everyone's at their house. Occasionally we'll do a social distance meetup. We'll go out to like one of the parks here in Pittsburgh, and we'll all stand in a circle with our masks and, make sure we're all alive, which is good. Yeah. But yeah, the last 2 months, we have one active construction project right now, which was paused for about a month and a half. But now that those restrictions have been lifted, so we're getting back to work on that, which is good. We've launched a couple of new initiatives, given the COVID realities, to a couple of new services that we're offering. And then we have a few projects in the design phase as well that we're just getting off the ground. But it's definitely been an adjustment period, that's for sure. I mean, it's every day is a new day, a new challenge.
Yeah, for sure. So the project that you're talking about, is that the Blackstreet project that I see you and Anchor and everybody talking about?
That's right. It's the hottest project in Pittsburgh right now. So it's a 4 units. We've partnered with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh. We've partnered with the local neighborhood group, and we're really excited to bring these units online this summer. So, yeah.
Right. Well, for one, if I recall, these are the same units that we saw out at the modular manufacturer, right? And we did our walkthrough video.
That's correct.
So, and also the energy efficiency and the build on these. Why don't you talk a little bit about what's so special about the Blackstreet project, other than their super cool looking buildings?
Yeah, so there's a lot of meat to the project. The first thing is part of our strategy here in Pittsburgh. We're a Rust Belt city. So Pittsburgh has about almost 30,000 vacant lots in the urban core. So when the steel industry collapsed here in Pittsburgh, a lot of homes were torn down, which left a lot of infill development sites. So there's a ton of them, and we're working with the Urban Redevelopment Authority to take those lots and turn them into sustainable new housing. So this is our first time going through the process of purchasing lots from that Urban Redevelopment Authority and turning them into new homes, which is really exciting because it's a very scalable relationship. So that's really interesting, is kind of the land side of it. The other piece is we're doing mixed income housing. So we will have a total of 4 units on the site, an affordable home sold to a buyer making a certain percentage of the median income in Pittsburgh, below the median income. We'll have a market rate home right next to that for just a market rate price. And then we're having a duplex unit, so an up-down duplex where you can live above and then rent a unit below. So we're really experimenting with different sort of versions of our product, all in the same development, which is really exciting, kind of from the product perspective. And then we're working with a lot of different partners on the project as well. So we have a modular manufacturer, Structural Modulars, Inc., 90 minutes north of Pittsburgh. It does a great energy efficient product. And then we have several corporates who are working with us. We call them our module innovation partners. So we have DuPont, Laura Dwyer from DuPont and their high performance building solutions team. We've got Lowe's, we have IKEA, Cobalt Creed, Sean and Tagliata from Cobalt Creed, and Mitsubishi. So we have a lot of other folks in the building supplier industry who are partnering with us on this project because they see it as the future of infill development, infill construction.
Right. For sure.
And then...
Go ahead.
Yeah, on the energy perspective, we're shooting for, the DOE, the Department of Energy, has a Zero Energy Ready Home program. So we are shooting for ZERH certification on all of the units. which, as they say on their website, it puts you in the top 1% of energy efficiency of homes in the U.S. So we are doing things like putting an inch of exterior insulation on the building. We are putting an ERV inside of the homes in each one of the units, so an energy recovery ventilator. We are doing EPA Indoor Air Plus on the homes, and then WaterSense fixtures as well. So we're trying to be really thoughtful about the products that we're putting in the homes, and that Zero Energy Ready Home program we think is a really great standard to set for this project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, with the energy standard in the home, you're getting a lot of support from the city? Like local community, the city, the state, are you getting?
We are. We actually...
Yeah, I'm losing you a little bit.
So part of the... Okay. Let
Go
me...
ahead.
If my feed isn't great, I'll hop on my computer real quick.
Go ahead. Just keep going, and if it goes out again, we can make a switch.
Okay. So the support that we've gotten from the city we actually had the mayor show up at our groundbreaking. So he was here in November, around Thanksgiving is when we had our groundbreaking. But why the city likes this project is we're experimenting with a new type of development, this mixed income development. So you have affordable units alongside market rate units. And we've gotten grant dollars, or the projects receive grant dollars from the city and the Urban Redevelopment Authority to subsidize one of the housing units. So that developing these lots, which are sitting vacant on their tax basis, is a really critical thing to getting our city back, in a better position economically. So they really are incentivized to take this land portal, this land inventory that they have, and get it back into the hands of home buyers. So they're really excited by what we're doing. And the fact that we're doing mixed income also aligns really well with their strategy, because they want to see neighbors, they want to see buyers of all types living in a particular neighborhood as well.
Sure. So you're known for your expandable roof systems and things of that nature, that you guys have been working on. Any of these homes have that system in it?
We do. One of the units we had actually, the duplex unit, we had prototyped our removable roof system. So we had installed the first and second floor, put the roof on top of that second floor, and then shipped the next box from the factory. That box arrived the second floor on the and lifted the third the roof and all on this new building. Really quickly that process could happen, because one of the values of our building systems is, if a customer wants to have a forever home, they could buy a smaller home of ours to start, and then we could build in a removable roof system to make their home expandable by another story over time. So that's something that we had tested on that duplex unit.
Right. So why don't we, just because you're kind of going in and out, just to be safe, fire up. You don't have to log out of this. Fire up that laptop. Log in with the laptop, and we'll keep that one in holding. So if I lose you, I can switch right over to the laptop. Just keep them both going.
Okay, I'll hop in the laptop.
So while you're doing that, everybody, listen, thanks for joining. We have Brian Gaudio on from Module in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Brian's just going to log in with another system here. He's going from his phone because it had a better camera, but we're finding that we have a little bit of delay. But if you're just joining us, if you could please write in the comments where you're from. It would be really helpful if you hit that like and share buttons. We love it when you hit the like and share button. It helps us grow our audience. So really looking forward to talking further and getting into this. And now's your time to ask a mastermind in the modular community your questions. So don't be shy about asking questions as we move forward here. So looks like you're up and running, Brian. I'm gonna pop this one in and pop the other one out and see if it's any better. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. How's that? Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Yep. Perfect.
All right.
All right. So yeah, you're still good looking even in that camera. So what the heck?
That's the studio magic, right, of Dave Cooper Live.
That's it. That's it. Perfect. So, all right, we were talking about the removable roof system. You do have it. We were losing a little bit of that feed. So just start from the beginning on that you do have that system on one of these units.
Yeah. So part of the initial idea we had come up with was this home that could grow with you. So the idea that a lot of buyers today, the household size is shrinking. So, it's no longer the number one household in the U.S. is no longer the nuclear family: mom, dad, 3 kids, 2 dogs, and 3 cars. There's a lot of other types of household sizes. So you think of the aging baby boomers who are downsizing. It might be a 2-person household. You might have the millennial couple that just are moving in together, and maybe they have a dog but no kids. There's a lot of families that aren't served by the big kind of luxury single family home as we think about it. So one of the initial ideas our company had come up with was this home that could grow with you. So if you are a millennial couple, maybe you don't need a lot of space today, but in the future you have kids and you can add more space as you need. So it's an option that we've developed, the idea that you could start with a home that might be 2 stories and then over time add stories as your needs change. And so on this unit on Blackstreet, we had tested for the very first time in the field a prototype of that roof system. So the idea is that the roof is a separate box. It sits on the 2nd story. When you need to add, you take that roof off, bring in another box, stick it on top, and then you put the roof back on. So it's a reusable and removable roof. So it's a test. It was, we're going to continue to develop that intellectual property. It may not be something that every customer wants on their homes, but it's an option that we will have and will provide.
Yeah, right. For moving forward for families. And it's a great option, especially for a growing family. Maybe the money's not there now and you want a bigger house later, all of those things. It really is a cool concept and a great idea. And I'm glad you finally have one built, a concept. And I'm hoping I might see you on the 25th or 26th. And I want to come see your Blackstreet project. You want to do that?
Oh yeah, I would love that. We'll give you the little tour, the social distance tour. You can come check out. They're probably 80% complete, the units right now, but we can walk you through the market rate unit, the affordable unit, and then the duplex unit, so you can get a sense of the product, the feel, the size of the units, and even you should be able to see the 1-inch exterior on the outside of the buildings. Well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, super cool. So how you guys been managing through this whole COVID thing? I know Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania in general, manufacturing and construction wise, was one of the states that was not considered essential workers in the beginning. How did you manage that?
Yeah, it was, we did. So Pennsylvania construction was non-essential for about a month and a half. And so for that month and a half, we had to get creative. And our thought was, well, if we can't build any homes right now for customers, what other ways can we help in this time of crisis? And sometimes I feel at least when you're sitting on the sidelines, compare it to like watching a sporting event, right? Mm-hmm. When you're at your home watching on TV, you get really nervous, right? It's like the last 90 seconds of a game. You're like, oh my God, I can't control the outcome. I don't know it's just nerve wracking. It's really stressful. So, but when you're actually I played sports growing up. When you're in the game, you feel like you have an ability to affect the outcome. So we kind of taking that analogy, we said, instead of sitting and waiting on the sidelines for something to happen, how can we become involved as our company? We've got a couple of tools. We have the benefits of offsite. We've got a great design team, and we're a young and nimble company. So we're not a huge conglomerate that's a slow-moving ship. So we with our general contractor, Blockhouse Residential, we brought in another group, Springboard, an architecture firm locally, Springboard Design. We said, can we create our own task force? And we called it the COVID Modular Housing Task Force. And the idea was, could we create a solution that could help during COVID, help people isolate safely during COVID, who can't go back to their homes or can't stay in a hospital? So there's a lot of people who may be left out of things during COVID, and have them isolate safely. And then those same units could be repurposed into long-term age-in-place, so kind of for the aging population, affordable housing, which is a huge need in our area because we have a really old population. So we grabbed, just started doing this independently, had meetings, virtually, and started prototyping this new solution, essentially a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit.
Right.
That would be a standalone accessory dwelling unit. So you put it in the backyard of an existing home. You could stack them up into 4 and put it as a quadplex, so kind of a small infill multifamily building, or you could put 24 to 50 of them together and do it as a larger multifamily building. So we prototyped the solution. We worked with some local mod manufacturers to work on specs, and we just started talking to the local government, talking to the local healthcare providers, because UPMC and Highmark are 2 of the largest employers in the city of Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of hospitals here. And we just started testing the value proposition. Is this something that's necessary?
So what was the feedback? I mean, was the feedback from the city, from the officials, from the healthcare, UPMC? You were going after everybody at that point, right? How was the feedback on this?
So the feedback in general, what we heard was initially there was a worry about not enough hospital beds, but luckily we have more than enough hospital beds. We don't foresee a situation like New York where they had to, retrofit Independence Center to become a hospital. And so luckily there's no hospital bed shortage. However, what the county, Allegheny County, and what a lot of the healthcare providers said is the existing challenges that we had as it related to housing for vulnerable populations and senior populations is becoming more intense. So, for example, seniors who may not be able to go back to a nursing home, or seniors who can't be placed in a nursing home right now because it's a dangerous place with infections, they're going to need a place to go. And we don't have enough places to put seniors right now. And then the homeless population, which is the most, they're more vulnerable than folks who have their own house. There's not a place to put homeless people necessarily because some of the shelters are open air. So they've actually been leasing out hotels and putting up homeless people in hotels. Again, not a sustainable long-term solution. So those 2 populations is what we were consistently hearing from these healthcare providers and local government is we need a long-term solution, and your solution could be that. So we've been having some really good follow-up conversations with them and been tweaking and refining our designs and specs based on their input.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think the whole idea of what you were doing in Pittsburgh is great. I know the MMC was doing, similar, and you guys talked a lot back and forth and shared ideas. And I've heard, even that group said you really came up with some pretty amazing designs for what it is you guys are looking to do as well. So perfect.
Yeah, we've actually, we've got a prototype design. Our thought was prior to doing a bigger project, can we get 1 unit out there, almost as a roadshow? So we actually have a soft commitment for partial funding of a prototype unit. So we're actually trying to round up the other funds to fund 1 single prototype unit that could showcase the benefits of offsite, kind of do a roadshow in the Western Pennsylvania area. And then the idea is that we would find a home or it's called a home buyer for this particular unit, or a nonprofit organization after the fact where we could place it on a permanent location. So it's been an interesting project, and I think it's gotten what we think as a team is a great way to iterate a new floor plan and a new product. Sometimes when you're in the day-to-day with the business, you may not move as quickly as you think you can. But we very quickly mobilized this new design, these new specs. ADA accessibility was part of this. So all of that came together very quickly, and that's because we had this kind of time was of the essence with the projects.
Yeah, well, for sure, right? And I mean, everybody's kind of mental shift happened when COVID hit. Nobody was really expecting this to come about, and I think it's fabulous that you guys were able to change gears so quickly to make an impact. I mean, that's a testament to you and all the team members on your team for sure for pulling that together. So what's it going to be post-COVID for Module? Where are we heading? I mean, what do you got? You got Blackstreet, you got other projects. What's post-COVID look like?
Sure. So we'll finish the Blackstreet project likely in July. Those will finish out of this year.
Okay.
One of those will actually be our show home and sales office. So we'll have the upstairs unit. It's a duplex. The upstairs unit will have, we'll be able to tour customers through and showcase the product that we have. So we're really excited about that. Mm-hmm. We have a few design build projects as well. So we're unique in that, you can come to our website, basically you fill out a form, and if you don't own land, we can help you out. So we have a couple of clients in the design phase where we've actually, through our database of vacant lots in the city, we've sourced them a piece of land, and we're now going and designing a home on that piece of land. So we have a few small design build projects that we're working on. And then as a developer, we're also putting out some bids for larger development projects. So, think 10 or more units. Those are the projects that we would like to start doing. So scaling up our operations. Those are, so it's obviously, in this time frame, our current projects, people are moving forward quickly, but sometimes we're seeing that certain lenders and other people in the market, it's been shaken up. So we want to open that conversation up. Every year we have an event called Defining the Future of Housing. It was going to happen in person this summer, but we're going to be moving it remote. But, every year we have this event, and it's kind of a symposium. So we have product folks there, product suppliers, we have developers, we have contractors. Normally we host it at the Ace Hotel here in Pittsburgh, but it'll be remote this year. It'll be a virtual conference. But our thought was, the title has always been Defining the Future of Housing, and now is essentially the time to do that because we're all sitting at home, and we know that the way we work it's going to be pre-COVID and post-COVID. So I think there'll be some fun themes to explore. Like in talking with you guys, you were talking about actual requests from new home buyers. Home office is going to become really critical.
Yeah.
So having space to work remotely, I think, is going to be one of these potential design changes. I think, how we manage client interactions, and we're prototyping a virtual tool for our clients to be picking fixtures and finishes, and so I think more of that will be expedited over time. And so there's some interesting trends that I think we'll be able to monitor throughout this event and over the next coming months.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you guys are doing single family residential. You're talking about getting into some small development type stuff. Where do you see the future for Module? Do you see it in both spaces, or do you guys see yourself moving more towards developing?
I think we'll move more toward developing projects. As these individual client projects are more to showcase the Module brand and really understand the process of taking customers through the new construction process. But as we see the future of this, customers come to our website all of the time from all over the country, and they say, here's the design that I want on your website, here's my budget, and I want to live in this area. Oh, and by the way, I want to move in 6 to 12 months, 6 to 8 months usually. And you can't do a custom one-off project in 6 to 8 months. So what we've learned is we know what customers want, we know where they want to live. So let's leverage that data to start essentially going out and developing new housing projects. And then through our website, we will market and sell those to our customers. So that's the model that we see moving forward as the most efficient for us. Mm-hmm. And it's what customers are telling us. They're like, I love your designs, but I don't have 12 to 18 months on my hands. I have a life to live. So that's why we're going to be pushing this development side of our business.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's pretty cool though. I mean, you set yourself up with some really great partners like DuPont, Lord Dwyer, right? And some of the others. The manufacturer you're using has been great and responsive and on par with everything. So I think if that continues and you continue along the path of what you're doing with the customers, the speed of getting people into their units, coming up with innovative ideas, I just can't see this not moving forward in a fast direction for you post-COVID?
Yeah, I think there's builders that'll have to make huge adjustments. And we're a company, as a startup company, that's been our life for the past 4 years, has been making huge adjustments.
Right.
And I think we're set up different than the typical home builder. Our team is comprised of, we have product designer one of our co-founders, Drew, is a product designer by trade. Yeah. Brings a very different mindset than probably a typical builder. We've got real estate and data analysts on our team. And I think as we look at the process for building new homes for people, it's not about the sticks and bricks that you're delivering. It's about the superior, we think of how do we create a 10 times better customer experience for our customers. Because I think there's a lot of builders that you talk to where customers say, I will never build a new home again. And we think that's a shame. And so how can we make the process a lot more fun and exciting? Those are some of the questions that we're always thinking about. Because as we think about post-COVID, in a world post-COVID, people are making a lot more purchase decisions virtually, right? They're on their laptops. They may be on our website right now looking at our different models, and they are trying to do research, and they are used to the convenience of ordering groceries now online, going to Target online, and all of that experience is only normalizing this digital process for selling and purchasing goods. So as a builder, we want to be ready, and we're prototyping out this process of going through the typical steps that you do buying a new home, but pushing more of those remote. And I think that behavior change because of COVID will be set up really well to come out of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. Tesla, everybody, all the car companies have done it. I mean, you don't even have to leave your house. They deliver it like you just pulled it out of a vending machine, right? So I do believe that's going to go in that direction, and I do think the customer experience is going in that direction. And I commend you to be somebody that's focused on the end use of the customer. In other words, you're looking for referrals. That's what we all live for in this industry, or we should live for. But most builders want to get away from them as soon as they can. As soon as it's over, it's like, I'm done, right? But it should be the other. It should be the experience that you continue to deliver. I had somebody teach me once, it's the Disneyland experience. You get to Disney World or Disneyland and you're standing in line and, you walk up and the line says 30 minutes and it's 90 degrees. But in reality, they know darn well it only takes you 10 minutes from that location. So they set up the expectation. This is only my theory, by the way. Yep. They set up the expectation so you exceed those expectations. And I think doing that's a very, very smart thing. And we should follow the masters like the Disney World peoples that have done, right?
That's a great analogy. I mean, a home is oftentimes the biggest purchase of anyone's life.
That's right.
And so they're going to put a lot of thought, time, and effort into that. And it's something that they may do only once, build a new house, right? A customer. And so, buying an existing house is complicated enough with seller's disclosures and, working with realtors. Mm-hmm. So making that process, setting expectations at the outset, I think that's something we're learning as a company, right? Is you want to satisfy. I mean, our first project, we got the red carpet for our client. We had a little groundbreaking for them. We had people joke they thought it was like a wedding ceremony. We had a cake that was in the shape of a house. We had T-shirts that we had handed out to them, and we had champagne. I mean, it was almost a celebration for us too. And we delivered this little 3D printed model of their house to them. We said, hey, in I guess 8 months it was, this little 3D printed model is going to show up on that lot right there. That was really exciting. So we're trying to hold the customer's hand through the process, but also realize that there's certain decisions and things that the builder is intending to streamline for that customer. Because if they're worried about the smallest little details, then they're going to be completely overwhelming the process. So we want them to trust us, And it's a lot. It's a really big responsibility to earn someone's trust. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure it is. And you're right, it is the biggest investment in most people's lives. I mean, they choose to spend more money with us as builders than their own financial advisors. If you think of the singular transaction of what we're doing and what we're selling in, again, you're going to be a startup business every year unless you have referrals, is what we say. That's right. Yeah. So if you have referrals, I mean, we have customers that, we've worked with that are on their third and fourth home over the course of a 42-year company. And that's kind of what keeps you going, especially, in downtimes, for sure. So, well, I love it. So tell me what I want to understand, and maybe also at the end, let's see, I know you have some photos of your Blackstreet project. Maybe you can share that screen and we'll put it up here in a few minutes. But what's really intriguing about you, Brian, is the partners that you bring in. How does Module go about choosing their partners? And how does a young guy like yourself get in front of a Laura Dwyer of the world? I mean, think like all this stuff that you guys have done. I think it's pretty amazing that you've been able to do that. Tell us a little bit about that. And if somebody wanted to be a partner with you, what would they do?
So if someone wants to be, if there's a supplier listening and they're looking at our website, modulehousing.com, and they look at the brand, they look at the designs, and they identify with that, they should reach out directly to me, Brian at modulehousing.com, and we'll find a way to get in touch with them. I think, we've gone to, one of the ways that we found partners is through some of the conferences that we've attended. So the Housing Innovation Alliance, obviously the International Builder Show, and Hive as well, done by Hanley Wood. But I found that the people that are at those events, and especially sometimes the speakers, they're there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And to connect with them, you just got to make an ask. So our first house, the Latham House on our website, was built by Bensonwood, was our manufacturer. So they're a really well-known off-site manufacturing company based in New Hampshire. And, we were sitting there, it was probably 2017 or 2018. And we were at one of these Housing Innovation Alliance conferences, and Ted Benson is one of the speakers. And we had just secured our first customer, and we hadn't secured a manufacturer yet. So I walked up to Ted. I said, Ted, I love what you're doing. I love that you are bringing this high quality, they're taking a lot of the machinery and offsite methods from Europe, they're bringing it to the United States, and they're putting out an amazing passive house product. I said, Ted, we just found our first customer. We need someone to build this. Is that something you'd be interested in? And he said, absolutely, let's talk. So we had a phone call, and then we went up to their factory in New Hampshire. And I think part of it is just being prepared to have a good ask for people, right? People won't help you unless you ask.
Right.
So that's something that we tried to do as a young company. You have to be willing to ask for help because generally speaking, people want to see an early company succeed. Generally speaking. But with DuPont and Laura Dwyer, again, at a conference, we were speaking, DuPont was speaking, and you just can tell, I think you can tell when you see someone on stage what they're presenting about. You're like, you know what? We're working on some of the same things, and we can help each other. There's certain, in the technology startup world, people talk about the competition. What is the competition? And it's a winner take all, right? You're either Google or you are a zero. And I don't think that's true in the home building industry because there are so many suppliers and components to putting together a house that we have to help each other. And we know that the housing industry is been in need of change for probably the last 50 years. And you got to find the people within the industry who recognize that and are open to new ideas. Because some people recognize it and they say, you know what, we're sitting on top. We're okay right now. But there are companies that realize and they see disruption coming. And that is us. We are this disruption that's coming. So the companies that want to be ready for disruption and want to participate in the upside of disruption, that's who works with us. That's why DuPont's working with us. They are motivated to create a better high-performance building envelope, just like we are, zero energy ready. They work with some of the same partners that we work with already, and they are very interested in exploring offsite. How can DuPont's Tyvek product be installed in a factory? if factory construction starts to go up like this over the next several years, when the labor shortage is even greater, DuPont wants to be ready. They want to be ready when the modular factories are producing 2 times the amount of homes that they're doing today.
Right.
That's why they're working with us, really.
So all right. So understood all that. What led you even into offsite versus traditional on-site construction? Because you put a bow on the end of that, but I didn't ask the question in the front. Like, all right, so why offsite construction versus on-site?
So part of our reason for choosing offsite were twofold. One, we're reading tea leaves. We're reading that the labor shortage is real, and we hear that from contractors around the country. And so we know that offsite is a way to, mitigate that labor shortage. So we know that offsite is coming. We believe that offsite is coming. So that's one reason, is if you're not leveraging an offsite supply chain as a builder, I don't think in the next 10 years you're going to be nearly as competitive if you're just continuing to stick build. So we know that that's important. The other piece is the customer experience, and the time it takes to build a home. We can truncate that time of construction by leveraging offsite as one piece. We think that there's better quality control in the factory. You don't have wind-driven rain coming in and creating opportunities for mold later on in the building envelope. The building envelope is complete in the factory. But then the actual experience, as we think about the new like you buy a Tesla, it shows up. You buy one of our homes, and on a giant truck, escorted by the police, it's going to show up. And it's pretty darn cool. So I think the customer experience of making your selections, those are done in an industrialized process. I believe that's part of the future of the customer experience too.
Yeah.
So that's why we choose offsite.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be a lot of fun to have a panel online here and with yourself, some of the innovation partners, talking about the energy efficiency and why the suppliers and the modular manufacturers and the innovators such as yourself in this industry are choosing this type of construction, and how the suppliers are helping to build this whole growth in the offsite construction industry. I think it would be a really big panel to have.
I think that's a great idea. It's a great idea.
We should maybe we'll do that down at IBS.
Yeah. Why not?
Maybe if Kevin Perry or any of those folks are listening, here's a panel that we should be running down there. Absolutely. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Or LinkedIn Live. You guys want to do a LinkedIn Live? Nobody can hide on LinkedIn Live. Right. So listen, if you're just joining us, we are on with Brian Gaudio from Module out of Pittsburgh. Brian is disrupting the home building industry with his offsite construction, his removable roof designs, his expandable homes, and you're doing it in a way that is better for the environment, more energy efficient, and hopefully healthier homes. And hopefully we can get it to an affordable home price. And that's kind of the goal, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's ultimately the goal, is how do we bring good design to more people, right?
Right.
I was trained as an architect, and in architecture school, I studied under a guy named Brian Bell, and there was this whole movement that was called Design for the Other 98%. This 2% of the homes in the United States are designed by architects. Mm-hmm. And I was in architecture school because I wanted to become an architect because I saw a Frank Lloyd Wright house here in Pennsylvania for the first time. I was mesmerized by it.
Falling Waters?
It was actually Kentuck Knob, right near Falling Water.
Okay,
right?
Yep.
So it's one of these homes, and in 4th grade I saw it, and it's based on this hexagonal pattern. I was in geometry class, and I was just wowed by it. And I was like, all right, I'm becoming an architect. 4th grade, I said, that's what I'm going to do. And then finally in architecture school, you realize, so you're telling me that 98 out of 100 homes have nothing to do with someone like me designing that. And I think that's a real shame. That's a real shame, because often in my experience, it's been the architect who has the client's best interest in mind, and they really care about design. But the fact that industry hasn't really influenced residential construction the way it can, I think customers are losing out on value to them. And so we said, can we build a company that takes some of the principles of good design and architecture, but put that in the form of a housing development and builder? And that might be a way to deliver quality design to a price point that the average home buyer can afford. We're not there yet, but we're on the way.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think we definitely are on the way. And I think coming out of this post-COVID, like you said, more and more people are going to be pushing this way towards offsite. You said it hasn't changed, needed to change 50 years. I think it needed to change 100 years ago. I mean, that's the problem. We haven't innovated at all. And innovation needs to happen year after year, not every 100 years or every 50 years.
And what scares me a little bit is I see a lot of projects on the coast, particularly on the West Coast, where they're sourcing it's cheaper to build a building in Poland or China, ship it across the ocean, ship it on the ocean on a large, barge, and then take it off the barge, bring it to the site, and stick it on the ground than it is to hire a local contractor. That blows my mind. And so I think we need to grow the offsite industry in the U.S., or else a lot of people are going to be out of a job. That's something that's always in the back of my mind.
Well, hey, listen, you're absolutely right. It's happening. I mean, there are projects going. You can look them up anywhere. Europe, Poland, Sweden, Germany, UK. They've all been way ahead of us on making changes in how they operate. Ireland, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that you're absolutely right. People need to stop and take a look, or they will overrun us. It is less money to hire a barge and ship it across the big pond, right, than it is for us to drive our trucks down the highway. Now, what will be interesting to see is if all the shipping fuel surcharges have dropped since COVID, since gas prices have dropped. So I always like to watch that when you see the invoice come in. It's like, well, gas dropped like 5 months ago. Why are we still paying surcharges? But that's part of the problem. The cost of transportation for us. Now, I think it'll happen mainly on the coastal areas before it gets inland, but that's where the population is, on the coastal areas.
Yep. And so I think there's a lot to learn from those organizations. Like, Jerry from Intech, he's bringing all of the knowledge that he's built up in his business, in Europe, and he's bringing that to the United States. And I think that's really exciting. Folks like that are getting into this industry. I think that's going to disrupt the existing players. And I think ultimately, it's important to deliver a better product to the end home buyer, the person that's going to live in that house. If we're not serving them, and if their needs aren't being met, then we're failing them. And other places will start to be supplying, homes in the US. And I think that's something that we have to put a stand, put a flag in the sand and really take a stance on.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, we're known for innovation and being leaders in this country, except for housing.
That's right.
That's the one exception. There's a couple of them that have gone away, but in our world, that's really what it is. So, Brian, offsite's the way it's going to go, man. I'm proud of you. I think you're doing great work. I love it every time we get to chat and have a conversation. Why don't we give some shout outs here? You want to do some shout outs?
Let's do it.
Let's see who we have here. George Ryman from Shorefoot Foundations in Arizona. Thank you for joining us. Anthony Good, Zero Energy Home. Love it. Tim Seams. You know that guy? He kind of pops up everywhere, this Tim Seams guy. I like him from Nishiya.
He was our first supplier of facade on our very first project. So he was an innovation partner as well.
Yeah, for sure. Right. There you go. Tim Seams. Love Tim Seams. Mark Willie. Did you see our Friday episode? We're doing building science now with Mark Willie on Fridays. Cool. He goes by the name Mark Bare Naked Willie, but he's not naked. So you got to join us on Fridays for that, because this is what we're talking about, the innovation, the science behind building homes, passive homes, every Friday at 1. All right. Our partners and Mark wrote, our partners and suppliers have been great team members. I tip my hat to the conversation on efficiency and DOE. So that's his world, man. You want a smart guy that understands passive home and building. Mark's your man. Laura Dwyer from DuPont, great learning with Module, how to deliver high performance mixed income housing. Thanks for joining us, Laura. It's always awesome when you tune in. Jerry McCullough, John Borneo. You know what? I'll end with John Borneo today. We started, but John, I don't know. We did a big hospital set. It wasn't for COVID, but it was for emergency pediatric with Axis, and it was a really cool project. Miles Biggs, Jennifer Kastenson from Hanley Wood was on. So shout out to Jennifer. Scott Skinner, Lonza Wood Protection. And I have some questions. Jen's in the background feeding me my information as always, so thank you to Jennifer. All right. Do you need to live in Pittsburgh to have a home designed by Module?
The answer is you do not need to live in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is our primary market, and it's where we can serve our customers best, but we are taking some projects outside of Pittsburgh where we essentially will work with the client to develop the design. We'll source a manufacturer for them, local architect and GC, and we'll walk them through that process. So we're just starting to launch that service. And if you have land and you're really interested in our product, you should reach out to us.
Yeah, sure. I know you touched on it before, but I'm going to ask it again just because somebody posted it. What inspired you to do what you're doing, and you know, how did you actually start Module?
I started Module. I guess why we're doing what we're doing is we want to bring good design to more people. We realize that housing is a extremely large challenge in our industry, and we need people on the ground working on solutions because that's the only way it's going to get better. You know, prior to starting this, I directed a documentary on the global housing crisis with a friend. And in learning about that, I saw all of these designers, architects, contractors, builders working on this really, really difficult problem, which was how do we bring design into the informal cities in South America? So I spent time traveling through South America, directed a documentary on how other designers, builders, architects were working on problems in their cities. And I said, what can I do in my city of Pittsburgh to start this? To start it was just from scratch. You know, I was living abroad and I moved back to my parents' basement. I worked out of my parents' basement. I stayed in my parents' house and called up my high school shop teacher and said, I need to use the shop. So I started making these models of what our homes were going to look like, and literally worked out of the local library, and had an idea for a better way to design and deliver homes. And that's how we started. It took a long time to gain a track record because we had never built anything. Mm-hmm. I was a young professional with a very limited track record. And so it took time. We had gone through some local startup incubator programs here in Pittsburgh. So Innovation Works, they have basically a program where you apply, you say, here's my idea for a business, and they invest a small amount of money, usually $25,000 to $50,000, and they give you resources and help. And that's really how we got started. And then slowly we had pulled together, we built a prototype, we had filed for some intellectual property, we built a website, and slowly over time we started to gain some momentum and some traction. But we had to start where anyone has to start, just from ground zero.
Yeah, for sure. When we get off this, why don't you post your documentary links in the feeds of this so people can actually see it, because it is a great story. I know I looked at it a couple of years back. What guidance or advice would you give others to bring energy efficiency and housing affordability together?
I would read up on. I would first, I guess, figure out based on where you are, who's doing that work in your area. Talk to them, and depending on on the affordability side, one thing we've learned is it's not a silver bullet solution. Just because we're using modular doesn't mean it's going to be 50% cheaper. It's not the case. So really understanding the facets of that problem were really critical, because affordable housing is about zoning, as much as it is about financing, as much as it is about, the supply chain that you've set up. And those are really complex, interrelated things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would start educating yourself on the problem. If you want to talk to me about it, I'll we can set up 15 minutes to chat, and I can try to learn more about your particular questions around this.
Sure. What about, one of the things that I am asked all the time now is architects transitioning into modular or offsite construction. How do I do it? How do I get involved? Because one of the things they're all saying is they want to be a part of this conversation. They want to design this way. They understand, they've read about it. They got the general parameters down, but we all know reading about it's different than doing it. How does one get involved, in your opinion, with becoming a modular architect? Because we need more designers, architects in this industry.
I would look in your city and ask, has any architects, look at the local AIA design awards and figure out, have any architects done any projects that used offsite? And I would talk to those architects. There's an architect, Ma Modular, I believe they're out of Texas. He's an architect turned developer that's done some really great work. Hanley Wood, Jennifer Castenson has featured Ma Modular's work in some of their conferences. But I would start trying to find the projects that you thought were really excited and talk to the architect and the builder and the mod factory behind those projects. That's how I would get started.
Partner. All right, basically just partner up, right? That's what we're looking to do.
Yeah.
I say it every show, and people are probably so tired of me hearing it say it, right? The only way you're going to learn is by partnering with somebody and getting an education that way, or going out and getting your ass handed to you. Either way, you're paying for it, right?
That's true. And it's not going to be smooth the first time you do it.
That's right.
The thing that's going to happen is it's going to be a headache, and you're going to learn something. And that's what we've been doing, is we've been going through the iterative process of solving new problems. It doesn't get easier. You just start to solve different problems, and you start to check the boxes. Okay, we know how to do this. We know how to do this. We know how to do this.
Yeah.
It's you got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to take feedback. Those are the two critical things, I think, to getting into the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And Brian's links and everything will be in here. I'm sure if anybody wanted to reach out to you, you could guide them down the right path. But it is all about partnering and learning, and the change is coming just because I'm getting the questions. I can feel it happening and how people get involved. So awesome. Tiffany McCall said, Brian Gaudio, are you coming to the BSC Summit in Atlanta this year?
When is it? I don't know when it is.
I have it somewhere, not at my fingertips. When is BSC, Jen? September 29th.
Okay. I will try to make it.
Just go like this.
If it's happening, I'll be there.
Yeah, just go like that. Do we have anything else on this page? Let's see. All right, some more shout outs. Michael Lagnima, Synergy Steel. What's up, Michael? They just did a cool project, man. I just was posting on. They do all panelized steel construction, which is really cool, and they're pushing the envelope. He said, thank you for your passion for this industry, which is great. Osama, sorry. The big question. I'll save that one for last. Osama Alabi also commented, and Osama, I think I saw he put up here, he wanted the link to your documentary as well. I think I beat him to ask him, but so put that in there. I think people were interested. Joel Hutchinson from Splash Modular. I don't know if you know Joel. Nice guy, definitely. All right, so Michael wants to know what software to use to design.
We'll use a couple software. We'll use CAD, SketchUp, and Revit. Those are the three we'll use for our projects: CAD, SketchUp, and Revit.
All right, and this is a question for me that I'm curious on. There are tech companies coming into this business. You kind of started tech, now you're kind of in the middle of tech and being a builder. But are you seeing any innovation from tech companies that are saying, hey, we have designed a Revit, AutoCAD hybrid that is made just for the modular industry? Because that's always been an issue. Is there anybody out there that's doing that you've come across yet?
There's a guy named Ravi who's working on something called Manufacton. I don't know if it's exactly what you're saying, but I believe it's a software that helps offsite manufacturers kind of on project management. So Manufacton is one of those. You know, I think Bensonwood, Ted Benson up in Bensonwood, has been working on their own kind of interior facing version of that.
Right.
There's a few other companies off the top of my head. I don't have them right off the top of my head, but there are several companies, because one of the challenges with offsite is sometimes you have to design the building twice, right? You have the shop drawings and you have the architectural plans.
Yeah. And
I agree that is a huge opportunity. And I know there's one or two companies that I'm not thinking of right now, but having one model that can talk to the factories, to their factory floor, and it can also talk to the architecture project, I think that would be really, really valuable.
Oh yeah, to have a life cycle that can run all the way through 100%. I think Joel Hutchinson says we have.
All right.
I'm assuming Splash Modular has that already. I'm pretty sure they do.
We should see a demo of Splash Modular maybe on.
That's it, Joel. I'll send you a link. Let's get into it right now. No. Yeah. No, I think we should. I think it'd be good to see if that's what we're doing. Joel, is that proprietary, or is that for anybody to be using, or you're just working on it? So let us know in the comments, and maybe we can have a conversation on that, because I think that'd be interesting.
The other thing that I've been trying to follow and track is 3D printing. Because there's a couple of tech companies that have come out with some 3D printed homes, and I still think that technology it's going to be slow to adopt, but it's something to be tracking. Icon is a company out of Austin, Texas, Icon 3D, Apis Core, and then Mighty Buildings out of California. There's 3 companies that are 3D printing single family homes. And, you know, that's something for the offsite folks to monitor, because it could be disruptive of offsite. While offsite is disruptive of stick built, 3D printing could change how we do offsite. So that's something to monitor, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 3D printing has come a long way. I mean, it's even affordable to buy one of those for the most part now. So Joel says they will be launching for the industry soon.
Okay.
Well, that's exciting, man. We need some of this stuff. I'm telling you, it's, you know, I've been designing and building in modular for over 20 years, Brian, and most of the manufacturers, old school manufacturers, tried and true, I think they're still stuck on AutoCAD like 4.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just it's painful, you know, and part of it is because they've always had to write their own proprietary systems. It's expensive to get it to work.
Yeah, if there could be a tool like the tool that Joel's team is building, that would be valuable to increase the number of architects who can get involved in offsite. Because we're even talking to architects will come and talk to us and say, hey, we want to build this building with offsite, and we're sort of the translator. But I think that translator is essentially it could be a software instead of an actual, you know, consulting organization.
Yeah, for sure.
That could be really valuable to increase the adoption of offsite, get more architects involved on it, get more companies familiar with it. That and the scope. You know, people need to know what's done in the factory, what's done on my job site. Really understanding that, I think, is critical to getting more people communicating that to people is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brian, I have one more question for you, but I just shout out. I mean, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live now. Facebook and YouTube are kind of new to us, but we've had quite a few people, you know, on this, you know, especially on LinkedIn. So I love it. Some other shout outs: Steve Browning joined in, Irma Schultes joined in. Anthony Good had a question on LinkedIn. 3D printing in terms of components on the line? ? So when you say 3D printing, are you talking components, or are you talking shells of houses?
Most of the 3D printing companies that I've seen are doing concrete mix, and it's site built. So I haven't seen 3D printing in a factory setting yet, but there's several companies that are doing 3D printing, mostly like essentially a concrete mix.
Right.
They're using right now.
Sure. All right, love it, love it. Joel says you guys are talking the same language, so that's good. Hey, so listen, one of the things we're doing, Brian, is we're doing. Is there more? Hold on a second. One of the things that we're doing is we're doing coffee mugs, right? So when Module gets me a coffee mug, we'll drink out of your coffee mug on some of the shows and put it up there. And anybody else that's listening, if you have a coffee mug and you want to send it to us and get a little advertising out of it or whatever, it's just something fun that we're doing to give people the opportunity to be on the show if they can't personally be on.
Shot glasses for happy hours too. Is that
you want to do that? We can do that. Absolutely. Why wait for happy hour? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? All right. And Brian, let me just do a couple announcements. So tomorrow, tune in. We got Building Modular. Jennifer's the host of that every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And we're talking about post-set stuff. So this is right up your alley with the Blackstreet project. So we're going through some of that stuff. Wednesday, we actually have the MMC on. We're going to have Colby Swanson and Von Buckley on again Wednesday, talking about the coalition. And then Thursday, Rodney Hall?
Yeah, of course.
Executive Recruiters? Yeah, Thursday, Rodney Hall is going to be on LinkedIn with Miles Biggs and I talking about branding and everything you need to be doing. He's an executive recruiter in this industry and one of the best at the top of his game. So if you don't know Rodney Hall, that's a show you want to get into. It's an opportunity to ask somebody that's really tied in. And then, of course, Friday is our bare naked Mark Willie show, as I call it. BS Fridays, they call it, Building Science Friday.
I was curious what that stood for on your LinkedIn.
Oh, we were posting BS Friday? Yeah, we had it going for a while. So Building Science, but Mark had his whole family do this whole long list. It was a funny show that we had Friday. Jennifer Castenson, do I say that right, Castenson?
Castenson, yeah.
Yeah. Brian does such a great job of presenting his innovation and connecting with the right players, which needs to happen more in this industry. He's paving great paths for offsite. So I just figured I'd shout that out for Jennifer. So there you go, man.
Great.
Brian, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. This is great.
You're welcome. And I'm going to take us out. I usually use my expert interview takeout, but since this was all about modular, the only outtake I have is from Axis Construction and Mod Logic. So I'm gonna put that video up, and you hang in there, and we'll catch up right after this. If you guys want to see a cool pediatric modular set, watch this replay. Get this, Brian, 16 modules in less than 12 hours set.
Wow.
Up and running mid-July, if not sooner. It's an impressive video to watch. It's just a little sizzle reel. So with that said, you hang tight. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Please come back next week and join us tomorrow for Building Modular with Jennifer at 1 o'clock. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Dave.